Philippines.
To the Philippines.
Philippines. Philippines. Philippines.
The Philippine Energy Department says the country has more untapped gas fields that may be utilized to meet the growing demand for power. May still tap the country's oil and gas power sources.
Oil exploration shares were the best performers at the Philippine Stock Exchange Monday as ASEAN headlines fuel speculation over a joint exploration deal to unlock oil and natural gas reserves in contested waters.
What if I told you there's a Southeast Asian country sitting on more than $26 trillion worth of untapped oil and gas? A nation whose energy riches could rival Kuwait or even parts of Russia.
It's going to be sustained, then we are going to see the further development of the other several.
Do more investments within the particular period of time, you need to have a return on that investment.
Put interest in the foreign companies to come in and develop other and maybe bigger resources.
If development stays on course, we might soon see a flurry of new service contracts, massive foreign investment, and the potential for something even bigger. Because if the cards are played right, or even if they're not, the next energy powerhouse in Asia might not be China or Indonesia. It could be the Philippines. Right now, the Philippines pumps out just 9,000 barrels of oil a day, but it burns through over 550,000 every single day. That's a jaw-dropping deficit, and it makes the Philippines one of Southeast Asia's biggest oil importers.
Of 6 billion barrels of oil is expected from the Cadlao oil field.
Each day, billions of dollars leave the country just to keep the power on and the cars moving. Meanwhile, deep beneath their own soil and seas lie energy reserves still waiting to be tapped. So where's all this hidden treasure? Eyes are locked on the South China Sea, especially around the Spratly Islands, Reed Bank, and Mischief Reef. The challenge? These waters are a geopolitical minefield claimed by multiple nations.
It is again ramping up pressure on China over its territorial claims in the South China Sea.
It does not occupy, control, and exclusively exploit the South China Sea. Then it should have the say over who does.
And while some of those trillions sit in disputed zones, other reserves within the Philippines' own territory are still being mapped and measured. There's potential in the Sulu Sea, Celebes Sea, and several more regions around the archipelago. But here's where the plot thickens. And oh, before we go deeper, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell. We're one of the fastest growing channels covering global power shifts. And what's coming next is wild, because time is running out for the Philippines in a way that few are talking about. The country's main gas lifeline, the Malampaya field, is drying up fast. For years, it's generated over 3,000 megawatts of electricity, lighting up Luzon and Manila. But experts say it'll run dangerously low by 2027.
Cannot provide sufficient gas to the power plants, and the power plants have had to resort either to shutdowns or to more expensive liquid fuel, which results to higher power rates for consumers.
The government sees the cliff ahead, and they're racing against time. They're trying to revive old oil fields, probe new zones in Mindanao, and drill deeper into Camago and East Malampaya.
At a time when the country is trying hard to meet its energy demands, the president thought it best to renew the government's agreement with Malampaya.
They've even extended Malampaya's contract through 2029, hoping to squeeze out every last drop.
The move, many believe, is a step in the right direction to slowly shed off the country's dependence on imported fuel.
Investors are starting to circle. Prime Infra, Shell, Udina Corp. They've poured hundreds of millions into new energy ventures. But here's what's maddening. Despite all the buzz, most of the country's energy fortune remains untouched. It's like owning a bank vault and not having the key. And the problem? It's not tech. It's not money. It's politics. Pure and simple. The South China Sea isn't dangerous because of storms. It's dangerous because of battleships and power plays. 6 countries, China, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, Taiwan, and the Philippines, all claim overlapping sections of this ocean.
中方在南海问题上的立场是一贯和明确，我们一贯主张，由直接当事国在尊重历史事实和国际法的基础上，通过。
And sadly, much of the Philippines' potential oil and gas lies right in the heart of these contested waters. Back in 2016, an international court ruled China's sweeping claims had no legal basis. But China shrugged it off.
Out of Philippine waters! China's line in South China Sea has no legal
possible because under the Constitution, there's a provision there which says that the use and enjoyment of the exclusive economic zone.
Instead, their Coast Guard doubled down, harassing Philippine ships, launching flares, even ramming vessels near Reed Bank. These aren't conspiracy theories. They're documented by satellite images, reporters, and even US military intel.
Images from Maxa Technologies dating to the 19th of May have revealed the presence of 2 Chinese H-6 bombers on a runway on Woody Island.
Just last year, we saw multiple standoffs between China and the Philippines, right where the Philippines wants to drill. The fallout? Foreign investors get spooked, projects stall, deals get scrapped. Legally, the Philippines has the right to dig. But fear of a larger conflict keeps their drills silent. Think about it. The Philippines could solve its energy crisis, spark an economic boom, and become a regional powerhouse. But they're blocked by military threats on their own turf. It's like someone parked a tank in your driveway and told you to stay out of your garage. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is making bold moves. Moves that could tip the balance in Asia. He's tightening alliances with the US and Japan, realigning the region's security game.
States approves the sale of $5.58 billion in F-16 fighter jets to the Philippines.
The Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement?
Greater access to military bases. This would allow the U.S. to position military equipment and rotate its troops in a total of 9 military bases controlled by the Philippines.
Aware that the emerging threat to our territory and our emphasis on addressing this threat.
That now gives the U.S. access to 9 military bases across the Philippines. American and Filipino forces are now doing more joint patrols in contested waters. Behind closed doors, Japanese and American investors are mapping billion-dollar deals to tap Philippine oil and gas.
Junior makes a pitch to Japanese companies to invest in the country.
And these aren't just pipe dreams. Some experts believe the Philippines could see tens of billions in foreign investment over the next 5 years. Not just in drilling, but in reshaping the entire energy grid of the country. The goal is simple, but it could change everything.
During the last 9 weeks will culminate during the demo day, where the startups get to pitch their businesses to the top investors in the region.
Break free from imported oil, power local industries, cut transportation costs, and finally build an energy-secure Philippines, one that doesn't rely on foreign powers to keep the lights on. But here's the billion-dollar question. Can the Philippines actually rise to become a regional energy giant? Or will they let the moment slip away? Because time isn't waiting. And neither are their neighbors. Indonesia? They're already pumping out over 700,000 barrels of oil daily. Malaysia? Close to 600,000 barrels. These countries are using their fossil fuel reserves to modernize, grow fast, and dominate infrastructure development. Now, imagine if the Philippines could match even a portion of that. they'd unlock billions in revenue and slash those painful import costs. No, it wouldn't instantly make them Southeast Asia's second largest economy. But the ripple effects would be massive. Cheaper energy, lower transport costs, more competitive factories, and thousands of new jobs across the country. But here's the catch. That opportunity window is shrinking. Malampaya is drying up. Global energy prices are climbing. And climate pressure is pushing countries toward renewables, fast. And just when things couldn't get more urgent, the plot thickens. Because now it's a race against time. The Philippines has to act now, or risk watching its energy wealth fade into a lost dream. What's at stake? Everything. If they get it right, this country could shift the power dynamics in Asia. They'd be less dependent on China, more aligned with the US and Japan. And instead of begging for oil, they'd become a source of stability and supply. But if they get it wrong, if they stall, or worse, get blocked by Chinese military aggression,
to give fuel subsidies to transport workers as the Israel-Iran war pushes world oil prices higher.
They'll stay stuck, caught in a loop of expensive fuel, economic strain, and missed chances. Meanwhile, other countries will pass them by, fast. They'll be left behind, still vulnerable to every energy price shock and foreign policy twist. But here's something most people don't see coming. The dynamics in the region are shifting. The Philippines is quietly teaming up with Vietnam, another nation struggling with Chinese aggression in the South China Sea.
The Philippines looking for other ways to pursue oil exploration with China to conduct a joint oil and gas exploration in the West Philippine Sea.
Both are exploring ways to jointly tap into their oil and gas, despite the danger. There's talk of shared drilling, mutual security, and building strength together. And then there's Japan, playing a major, under-the-radar role. Japanese firms and state agencies like JOGMEC bring serious offshore drilling experience. They're also on the hunt for alternatives to Middle Eastern oil. So a strong energy alliance between Japan and the Philippines, that could be a game changer, both economically and strategically. And timing? Couldn't be more critical. Just look at the global landscape.
Gas prices. They spiked to a 52-week high earlier this week following reports of a colder than usual temperature forecast for January.
The war in Ukraine has exposed just how risky it is to rely on unstable regions for energy. Now, countries everywhere are scrambling for safer, more reliable partners. The Philippines has the chance to become that partner, supplying oil and gas to Japan, South Korea, even Taiwan. But they can't afford to wait. Every year they hesitate is a year their rivals grow stronger. A year Malampaya gets closer to empty. A year China builds deeper roots in contested waters. And here's something else no one's talking about. The generational divide. Younger Filipinos? They care about the climate. They're skeptical of fossil fuels. But they're also tired of poverty.
And the planet, the youth alongside the most impacted communities are standing up against this injustice.
Basta mag-lecture lang about climate change, magsabi lang na ito yung gagawin natin, mabulok at saka di mabubulok, pero hindi nila alam kung ano yung impact niya sa environment.
Sick of high living costs, frustrated by the lack of opportunity. So what if oil and gas could be a stepping stone, fueling jobs, cutting costs, and funding a cleaner future? That's a compromise that might just work. The world is watching closely. Because this isn't just about energy. It's about what happens when a small country stands up to a superpower. It's about how disputed borders are navigated in a time of global crisis. It's about the future of energy and power. If the Philippines pulls it off, it won't just change their future. It'll send a message to the whole world. But if they don't, if they get steamrolled by pressure or politics, it'll show everyone what happens when you hesitate at the crossroads of opportunity and fear. The Philippines stands at that crossroads right now, with resources beneath their feet, allies behind them, and a generation ready for something more. But the clock is ticking, and the world is watching. Tapping into offshore oil and gas isn't easy. It takes massive investment and cutting-edge tech. The Philippines has to walk a tightrope, meet urgent energy demands today, without losing sight of long-term environmental goals. At the same time, they're navigating the dangerous political chessboard of the South China Sea, while trying to build the skills and funding needed to actually pull this off. The next few years? They're everything. Will the Philippines rise to the challenge and claim its energy future? Will they stand firm against Chinese intimidation, with the backing of allies? Can they turn fossil fuel profits into a stepping stone toward clean energy? Or will all this potential get buried, lost to fear, delay, and politics? We want to hear from you. What do you think happens next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it. And if this breakdown of the Philippines' energy gamble caught your attention, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We've got more global deep dives coming soon, and trust us, you won't want to miss them. Thanks for watching.